Hello, I'm George. This is Fat Ninja Food Forest for anyone that's not familiar. Today's kind of a big day for us in the wormery. We filled our first large batch bin. So it's like Captain Matt does. That's where we learned this. We have a large batch bin that is 2 foot tall, 6 foot long, and 4 foot wide. We have a stack of breeder bins. We have the potential to do 10 a week. We're down to 5 a week just to slow things down a little bit. But so five bins a week that are full of a half pound of breeder worms, breeding more cocoons. We'll go in and have a look at that. We'll look at the compost real quick. Just want to show everything because I believe the product that we have, I'm not going to say superior because I don't know who other products are, but it's a very wonderful product. I saw one shared the other day where they just used cardboard. Captain Matt took us through it, and it's great. It looks wonderful. They said there's everything in the compost that needs to be. But I'd have to imagine with us using the finished thermophilic compost gone static for a while, the wood chips to have that fungal component in it, all the yard waste of the food forest, and the supplements we use in the breeders themselves to try to get them larger. And they're all organic, oyster shell and neem seed and stuff like that, alfalfa, just a little bit extra on top. As Captain Matt does, we take any fruits, nuts, berries, not nuts, fruits, berries, stuff like we have here, and we grind it up and mush it. But now let's look at the compost real quick. We'll go look at the bins. So I'm just trying to promote this because our bin is now full. The camera's falling over. Excuse me for a moment. And so I'll be sifting all that out today. So we're going to have a ton of compost ready. I just want to promote why I believe that compost is so good. It does go through this thermophilic process. This is our newest one. No, second newest one. There's one out front. It's down to 120. So that's been turned 3 times, gone up to below 160, above 140, has to be above 141 to kill all those weed seeds we hear about or disease pathogens, how disease show up. So by getting to that temperature, we've done that. 3 turnings, we've made sure that all the product has gone through there. Here comes the heavy rain. And then we let it set static. Setting static, we started with a lot of wood in there, a lot of woody components. So there should be plenty of fungal spores in there, and that hyphae to move throughout the pile. Then we're using it for bedding, and we'll go have a look at that now. We might have to walk fast. So from there, we use the oldest compost with some of that younger compost, as I said, for food. And there it goes into our breeding system like Captain Matt's. Hi, honey, I know it's wet. Pardon the mess in here, I've been going. So here's the large bin and our breeder bins. So it goes from these breeder bins on a 3-week rotation because these cocoons hatch every 21 to 28 days in a perfect world. So then I'll take these and sift them on a 3-week rotation. This week's the middle bins. They're 3 weeks in. And the bedding itself, we'll see it's just loaded with cocoons. Cocoon, cocoon, cocoon. Cocoon, 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 cocoon. They're just everywhere. Potentially 1,000 or more cocoons in here for you. They're literally just everywhere. That's because these breeders are so happy. We'll pull out. There won't be as many in here. I sifted these last week. And you just see in the wall off the top there. There's a lot of worms in there. And giving that supplemental feed. So again, these are on a 3-week rotation. Every 3 weeks. I don't sift them. I don't like harming the worms, disturbing it. Instead, I use this light deprivation while I pull the compost off the top. So underneath there, there's gonna be a ton of worms left. I'll finish that in small piles doing that, transferring these mostly finished castings with all those cocoons in them into our large batch bin, working from one end to the other, luring the worms to the front. But that means all these 1,000 cocoons approximately a week go into here and are hatching. So in here, where I haven't dug yet, we'll look. It's just loaded with worms. Many, many young ones, old ones, working their way from one end to the other. So any material that hasn't been composted in those first 3 weeks has time to set in here and be completely finished in the end. Again, I'm just saying this because we're selling castings now. We got our first small bags ready. We're going to offer it in, should clean my hands. We're offering it in 2 quart, a gallon, and 5 gallon. We're not doing it by weight. because I don't believe in drying it down so much and having those microbiotics, having that the soil food web go to sleep on us. The bacteria, many will go dormant if it gets too dry, and many other food in there. Stumbling on my words. And then I'm starting over. Am I careful? I don't edit these videos. So in here, again, this mostly finished. You can see how much it went from this rough compost that we start with from outside to a much more finished compost here that goes into that. Here you can see it's more coarse. So it goes from thermophilic to static to worm bedding to finishing out being worm food where it sits for a long time. The options we have, I've said it a few times, are worms by the pound. We don't mind selling worms by the pound. It's a great way if you have a wormery going already. We're selling the castings in those 3 different sizes. And we're selling these worm systems as well. So I'll take my oldest worm bed. It's closest to 3 weeks when you purchase it. And you'll buy everything. You'll buy the half pound plus of worms, the bedding full of that biotic environment, the bacteria, the fungi, the nematodes, the many arthropods on up through the food chain. I'm forgetting shelled amoebas, protozoas. They're all going to be in there. So they're going to help break down your carbon bedding that you start with. So if you're just starting a worm bin, I talk so fast. If you're just starting a worm bin, this is a wonderful way to do it. You've got this great compost to start with. You've got literally thousands of cocoons. I don't know if you're making out that makes all those cocoons in there. 1,000 cocoons at least that are going to hatch into, not to get too complicated, each one has multiple eggs in that, multiple worms in that. Usually average out to about 4 worms though. So 4 worms per 1,000 cocoons. Within 2 months, you have a very large worm population. So I'm going on and on about this, but I think that's just a great way to do it. If you're starting a new worm bin, is to buy these. So the worms are $50 a pound. These breeder bins with half a pound or more in it is going to be $50. And the compost itself is $15 for 2 quarts, $25 for a gallon, and $50 for 5 gallons. If anyone's not familiar, again, I'm George, Fat Ninja Food Forest Wormery. That's Fat Ninja Food Forest. I'm just sharing these to promote these because I believe we have a wonderful, I'm not going to say superior to anyone, but just a wonderful product. We use it on the food forest. We see just how great it works. We make compost teas out of it, compost extracts, top feed the soil with it. We've been doing it for years, and we're just so incredibly satisfied with the results. We're just out there. We saw it becomes a no water, no fertilize, no pesticide, no insecticide food forest because we've set it up with those guilds and whatnot. A big part of that, though, the fertilizing we do is organic and self-built from our waste products, our waste stream. And anyone can do that by setting up one of these bins. I'm getting more hoarse. I'm George, Fat Ninja Food Forest. Please like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate it. Change is better than a holiday and well overdue. Have a great day.